Good morning, everybody. I wanted to take a minute and make this video for Module 2 because I was really impressed with the rich discussion that we've had in the Module 1 discussion forum regarding protections for human subjects research, the 3 principles of the Belmont Report, and the CITI training, all of which is incredibly important. So this module kind of builds on Module 1 in that we're asking you to reflect on what is the biggest ethical challenge that you foresee having and how will you overcome that. So I wanted to share with you my example. As many of you know who watched my introduction video, I'm currently writing up the last 2 chapters of my dissertation and getting ready to defend next term. And for me, one of the biggest ethical challenges that I faced as I was planning and conducting my research was the fact that I was conducting research at an institution where I worked. And I likely would know all of my participants personally. So that's a big source of bias. That's called researcher bias, which I'm sure you'll be reading about later in the course. So in order to get away from that, I partnered with an instructional designer at my college because I was researching online faculty perceptions of instructor training. So how are faculty who are currently teaching online perceiving the effectiveness of their training that they were given to prepare them for the online world? Well, again, I have personal bias, and not only do I know most of my colleagues who teach online, I also teach online at that institution and have been through the training. So to protect against that bias, I partnered with an instructional designer who administered my survey and my informed consent forms. So I used an open-ended questionnaire because my design was qualitative. My methodology was qualitative. My design was phenomenology, but we'll get into that later in the course. So what my partner did, the instructional designer, is she selected the random sample of participants, sent them the informed consent document. When they signed off on informed consent, they were then given a link to the survey. So I never knew the identity of who was participating, and my participants did not know that I created the survey. The survey was sent out from the Department of Instructional Services at the college. So they did not know who specifically created it. This is what we call a double-blind study, which is the gold standard in medical and social science research. So many of you might be thinking, well, wasn't that a pain to arrange? Absolutely. It was difficult to arrange, but it increased the validity of my study significantly, and I found it to be the best way to overcome the ethical challenge. So my point in sharing this is that it's important to reflect and understand what is my biggest ethical obstacle going to be, as well as other ethical obstacles, and plan far enough ahead of time for how you're going to combat those so you actually have time to make sure they don't influence your study. So if any of you would like to discuss this further, please comment on this thread. I'm happy to share with you some other tips and tricks that I did to overcome ethical barriers. Hopefully this video is helpful. I apologize for the fact that I'm very underdressed for making a video. Like many of you, I work multiple jobs and do my dissertation, so I'm kind of making this on the fly before I have to run out of here. But again, I thought this would be easier to express in a video than in writing. So hopefully you find this helpful, and I look forward to our continued discussions.